Hello, this is your announcement for Philosophy 201, Introduction to Philosophy. Today is January 28th. It is the last week of January. It's gone by quickly. It's also week 3 of our semester. Okay, so last week you survived. Okay, it was, I know, tough with 3 readings and 3 discussions, but hopefully you all made it through and gained something from that. I will be working on grading those discussions this week. I did grade your introduction discussions. I just have to unmute the grade, and I just want to tell you a few words about that. There was a rubric on that discussion, and so it wasn't just an easy kind of, yeah, you did it or you didn't do it. There are actual, criteria for the discussion. So if you didn't get full credit for the discussion, don't fret, don't stress. Okay, usually it just means that there's some aspect of the directions that were not followed, and I made comments. Okay, and this is very important. When I grade, I make comments in the comment box or in the grading rubric itself. And my comments are not to criticize you or make you feel badly, but they are there to help you to see how you can improve for future discussions. Okay, so I'm going to, when I finish recording this message, I'm going to unmute those discussions and you can see what your score is. Okay? So again, I'm on your side. I want you to be successful, so I do write comments. So it's going to be very important for you when you look at your grades in our class. Don't just look at the grade that you got, okay? Make sure you open up that grading rubric, which I hope you open before you submit any assignments or discussion, um, and look at the comments that I've written both inside the rubric and in the general comments for your assignment submission. Okay, so on to this week. So this week I'm very excited because we're reading Plato, and I love Plato. And he's the only one we're reading this week, so we only have one reading. Yay! Okay, but it's a good one, and it's kind of makes up for. It's as much reading as you had last week, but it's just one text as opposed to 3 different texts. Okay, so what you're going to be reading in this week's module is the Phaedo. Okay, it's a dialogue called the Phaedo. And the title of our module, 1.2, is To What Extent Do Our Bodies Determine What We Are? Okay, so in this reading, Plato, via Socrates, who's the main character, it's called the dialogue. Socrates is about to die. Okay, he's been convicted, and he's just awaiting his execution. And so this is in his jail cell, and his students are talking to him about the soul. Okay, so this is about the soul. And I hope you enjoy this. I really like this. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the reading. I wrote a commentary that goes along with this module, and I really hope you read that because I think it can be helpful. Right now, I just want to read you a little bit from that commentary, just to kind of get the ball going. Okay, so whenever my students read Plato and Socrates' ideas on the soul, they get wound up in the notion of reincarnation that is discussed in many of his books. Okay, don't get wound up in the reincarnation and don't think, oh, it's like weird and blasphemous and stuff. Just roll with the conversation. Okay, just follow it. Kind of set your own beliefs and what traditions you've grown up with. Just set that aside on a shelf. Okay, so you can focus in on these ideas. So what they're talking about in this particular text is the idea that the soul is immortal. Okay, so like I said, don't worry about the reincarnation thing. It's the idea of immortality that we're really looking at. Okay, so Socrates and his students talk about 3 different arguments that support the idea that the soul is immortal. Okay, and also keep in mind that Plato and Socrates lived in historic times before Christianity. Okay, there was no Christianity yet. Okay, also about the structure of this conversation. So this is written in the form of argumentation. Okay, so it doesn't mean the characters are arguing with each other. It just means that Socrates and his students talk. They consider the subject of the conversation in steps. So as they're talking, they're approaching the topic in steps that lead them to make a conclusion. Okay, so each of the three arguments for the immortality of the soul, within those arguments, Socrates and his students talk through the steps that logically take them to a conclusion. All right, so each step considers a different possible answer to the question that they are asking. Okay, so it might seem confusing. You might think this is really redundant. They're saying the same thing over again. In some ways they are, and that's just their brains, thinking through the process of getting to a conclusion. Okay, so just roll with it. All right, it might seem tedious, but just open yourself up, and I think you'll see how really neat this is. Okay, so that's what we're doing for this week. As far as your assignments, there is a self-check quiz, which is due on January 30th. There is one discussion only. Yay. Okay. And that is due on February 1st. Okay, so once again, don't forget the 48-hour rule. And also remember to post replies to 2 students. Okay? All right, so that's what's happening for this week. I hope you enjoy your contemplation on the soul for this week with Socrates and his students. All right, thank you, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.